Sheila here with Sirius Taurus Moon. This is Mercury hour and Mercury night. So Mercury is ruling over Sedna Uranus. And I want to talk about a continuation of the previous episode because this is important. I began to talk about the attempts to take the freedom to roam and to take for people who take a hike the freedom to take a hike. Okay, to really take a hike, like to walk in nature. Something like what we had in COVID, but this time full-blown like surveillance state and stuff like that. And I talked a little bit about the ideologies behind that and about the fact that they're meeting people at a place where we the people had enough of having enough. And again, I said I don't see it necessarily particularly for women. And what I'm getting is, listen, think about negotiations. What people are used to is that people, you put them in a situation where you give them offer they can't refuse. But the treason cult, particularly anything mafiosi, that tries to, I said this is not another century of gladi operation. Particularly those type of tactics, okay? We give them an offer, they understand that they cannot take that offer because it's a treason cult. So you basically offer nothing, with a pile of nothing, with many nothing, and come only in the frequency of the lower astral, or even if you combine something, you bring in frequency of the lower astral. I said, this is not an offer. This is lower astral, scammy things, deals with devils. That's not a deal. That's a treason cult. And even if, let's say we talk about teeth. Let's say a person, oh, you're going to need to fix your teeth, you're going to need to this, you're going to need to that. How? With your doctors? Why am I having this need to fix the teeth? Because of all the ceremonies that you made along my life? And now you ask me to trust your doctors? You ask me to trust a treason cult that's going to be in my favor. And your way to try to convince me is to always bring some fear tactics. Always bring some lower astral. Where the entire thing with the teeth is to purge those control tactics that try to coerce and limit and keep people under control. That's what I have in my teeth. To purge that. Wisdom teeth. And to purge on a societal level the tactics of bringing people and doing business by taking all the life out of people. And that pertains to the relationships, to the politics, to the economy, to the sciences. Control tactics breed fungal structures, breed diseases, breed only people that don't want to live anymore in those conditions. Now, this is the type of scenarios that the Saturn Neptune is bringing. Reminding you that Uranus is with Sedna. And what was the issue with Sedna? Sedna came to change the society she was in. And particularly the lower astral frequencies, that no man's touch was good for her, because all of them were with this dumb fuckery lower astral rituals that Sedna couldn't with, and then all of them had to appease Sedna to have food. Now I have Sedna going over my Rahu in the 4th house, with the ruler in the 2nd. Which means if people try to do harm to me on lower astral, for real estate, for I don't know what, they will not have 2nd house. What is that? Food. And if they will, Sedna has minerals. They will not have absorption of minerals. All the things they try to curse me with. For other people, it's other things. Okay, think, where's Gemini? And by the way, good thing about Sedna, the Inuit, a Sedna goddess, they worship a Sedna as, they venerate Sedna as a goddess of true relationships. Why? Because with Sedna, what she teaches, that is like Sedna, not to harlot oneself to the lower astral. And the knowing that those that try to sacrifice people to the lower astral, under the guise, and it's always going to be under the guise, they don't want to work, they don't want to this, no man is good for them, no woman is good for them. That can also happen to men. And so those lower astral frequencies are basically causing for entire community to have to appease Sedna, even if Sedna is already dead. And this is where society will have to think with itself. What did it sacrifice? Think about all the people that died at the Epstein rings, at the death row rings. So and then what happened with Sedna? She was looking for maybe a man from another culture or another tribe or another this, but that man still had to be a man. And how was Sedna, even today, when you hear some Inuits frame Sedna even today in 2025. And the food prices are off the roof. They say, oh, she thought that man is better. Well, if you are dealing with the devil, sacrificing babies, uh, doing ritual, trafficking people for the lower astral, whatnot, then entire society will be, and what happened to those entire societies, we know what happened. Now that depends on the society, because there are going to be several sednas, people that have placements at beginning of Gemini, maybe even end of Taurus. There might be the sedna story. And here is required for people not to go with the lower astral. And not to sell others to the lower astral. Because if they did, they will not have food. And what is food for the people that are in the lower astral? Food is the life energy of others. Which can mean famine. Because what happens when people go through sexual boundary violation? They become so depressed sometimes, either they don't want to eat, or they eat the things that cause a yeast overgrowth, or diabetes, or they try to commit suicide, or they want a death with dignity. At any case, they're not the wife that cares for the children and cooks, and they're not on that. They're not a trad wife. And that means that the crops won't grow, there won't be people to pick the crops, and there won't be places to import the food from, and journeys would be very risky. And then there would be colonialism, wars, and all of these things. Also when it's done to the boys. Because in the secret societies there are marriages with boys. And those, if there are such things, they will be exposed. Yes, so maybe some people say, well, enough news for now. Look at this 0 degree, mid-heaven conjoining Pluto. And Moon applying to sextile Chiron. And square Saturn, Neptune. So in the coming hours, the Moon will square. Until tomorrow, I believe the Moon would square Saturn and Neptune. Those are challenging hours. So people that are suffering in those times, then perhaps a mineral or crystal like a peridot can bring some joy. Or moonstone, I don't know if that would work. Aquamarine, I don't know, because Mercury is in Scorpio and it's deep communication. Can be oils to do with Mercury, oils that are with leaves. Like even rosemary, even basil can work, but you have to pay attention to no problems with the thyroid. Um, but those can also accentuate on that energy. So, okay, for some people they're like, okay, to make it bigger to transmute, but if it's something like, I don't know, people that deal with harsher things, um, they have to see what works for them, because anything I said, the moon is increasing, although the moon is decreasing, the moons tend to increase something, so we're increasing the purging. Okay, so, and it's a decreasing half moon, square in Saturn, removing rocks from places. Okay, if people have like a yard, maybe removing some rocks, but they have to be very cautious because it will bring up a lot of emotions. It can be a good purge, but it's very challenging, particularly for night charts. Attempts to do courses on the moon, yes, in this time can bring such disastrous results to those who try to curse, because this is time of protection from curses and purging of curses. So trying to place anything right now on a person may result in instant karma. Okay, I remind you, it's a purgatory. There might be reality checks on the ability to trade on emotions. Okay, because Moon is emotions and Gemini, Mercury is trade. Any sales tactic that tries to bring people into fear, particularly around something to do with sex, okay, may have big reality check. People may find out that what person is that okay, well, it is a combination of what they will find out, that that person is willing to do things they never thought they would be willing to do, in terms of killing or destruction, or agreeing with to kill or destroy those that try to put them under that pressure, and at the same time discover that that person is not willing to do things that they thought is normal for a person to be willing to do, particularly under certain limitations or circumstances and so on. Any attempt to use sex as fear tactics can backfire so maliciously that can bring to murder of those who try to pressure a person into fear regarding how should I say that, if somebody tried to threaten someone with rape, I wish that they, first of all, that they will come to their senses, because this is a very stupid thing to do, but they may not have been expecting the reaction. Okay, it can be such reaction that the person that was threatened will react in such a way that that they did not expect, not in a billion years. And again, that person, yes, is okay, and that is particularly those smug people that thought that they can just get a person by fear tactics to just give up their freedom, but they need to take into account that that person has already been to such a point and threshold in their life that they would not even pretend that they are okay with something they're not okay with. Moon hour. Now this is Decan of Gemini, where people, I think, go with, well, if they made, let's say, a certain choice, they go with that choice. Mars is in Decan of Scorpio, that is associated also with Neptune. And they can be even action that has such mysterious motives that even the person doesn't understand what is coming from them at this point. Ballistic styles, Ketu. Anything, and I said it all the time, anything that relies on people, something being hidden, classified, and so on and so forth, people going missing, and so on and so forth, they better not, because from the place they least expected that, they will find out that what they try to silence becomes such a megalithic bubble and all of us will be surprised. Even the people themselves will be surprised. It can be something along the line of I don't know. Epstein is found alive and delivers the Epstein list, and who raped him when he was a child. Something like that. Like it is given this. You see, all those Moon, Saturn, hard aspect energies are energies that are given the last straw. Somebody tried to do something. Now this is the last straw. Okay, and and then the reaction is kind of like a chain reaction. But because Ketu is also purging. Mercury rules Ketu and is in Scorpio, so it's purging upon purging upon purging upon purging upon purging. And this is what people do, with Scorpio. There's an element here that if somebody is down to their authentic truth, how should I say that? There's it's a decan of Scorpio that is a transmutation decan. Particularly if somebody is coming to place revenge on somebody. Okay? Because because if somebody is coming to push a person to corner, but they don't have housing, they don't have this, they don't have that, nothing is a place, they try to come out of that corner, they try to corner them, what comes out of that person is like a megalithic series of volcanoes. And that person even doesn't know. It reminds me of the time before the Me Too, that people did not expect, and there was sudden this megalithic web of explosions. And people thought that they're going to be able to control the explosion, and they can't. Uranus Sedna. Now Scorpio, there can be shadow aspect where Scorpio can be, oh, I have been understanding you so much, I'm sick of to understand you, by a person that says that, and they were expecting the person to be subjugated. Particularly when it comes to sexual sovereignty. Okay, the incubus, the succubus, the trying to steal life energy and stuff like that. And then something explodes, but this explosion, Uranus is sextile Neptune. Oh, because Mars rules Neptune and Neptune sextiles Uranus. That's why I see it. But it's such a megalithic explosion. I hope with the kidnapped people it's going to be okay. Chiron is in good situation to remediate that, but Chiron also was a part of the creation of that. Particularly something that has been very, very stagnant is about to be purged. Now here's the thing. I want you to think about the situation. Let's say a guy wants to date a girl. She doesn't necessarily want to date him. They speak. And he says, oh, they try to politely say, oh, but people, when they have white teeth, is more attractive. Now, teeth have to do with a lot of things. Speech, expression, saying one's truth, and so on. Then the girl says, you know, he's right. I should tend to that. And then this girl begins to speak. And what she has to say has also about for the energy that was coming from this guy that was operating on dark occult. Now, okay, I want to imagine another situation. A girl asks a guy, what is my ass fat? And he says, you know, your ass is sexy, but yes, it's big. And she says, you know what? I'm going to have fitness. Now, ass is also Jupiter. And as she has fitness and this and that, she begins to see everywhere she tries to do gymnastic, everywhere she's filmed. And then she sees people around, and she was doing, I don't know, exercises in her own bedroom. People around try to mock or bully her or target her for things she did with her, not even serious things, okay? Dancing, squatting, or whatever. And she says, what is going on? And now is a question. Is the honey that she asks if her ass is fat in it or not? It's that kind of energy. Because Mercury in Scorpio, they want to transmute something. And there's a moon is always about care. It could be self-care, caring for oneself. And Saturn is kind of like the thing where, yeah, I should really tend to that. Or somebody gained weight, they say, yeah, I should really tend to that. Remember, I need to lose the culture. Oh, your feet are stinky. Yeah, I should really tend to that. Drop that Snickers. Oh, what's that? It looks like a beginning of toenail fungi. Well, put some tea tree oil. Oh, I'm studying aromatherapy. Yes, but the things that you take for the amphetamines, they interfere with the absorption. And also the things that, yes, they try to regulate the nervous system or whatnot, they interfere with the absorption. I say, okay, anyway, I take them more for the peace of the nervous system of the doctor. They don't do me anything good. And for the doctor, they keep them at peace. So I said I will take the pills so that the doctor will be in peace. So if I rather have an anxious doctor than an ill body. Again, person stops harloting themselves. Then they put some oil, some mix. What is fit? Oh, fit, stagnation in the feet. Stagnation around walking your path in life and advancing and growing. Oh, amazing, I need to grow, I need to expand, I need to take steps, I need to this, I need to that. Then the entire surrounding try to do ritual magic to not for let this person grow, even from the aromatherapy. You said Rosalina. Knows its place. I was like, okay, now I see why I was stagnant. Because Pluto, if it's something that is fun, and it's a tip for you, if it's something that's already beginning to be fungal, it's a Pluto thing. Pluto thing is something that is generational. Now, some of those people are operating on lower astral. It comes from their fears, from their anxiety. And some of those people, like, let's say a person that says, oh, about the house, about the this, about the that, why don't you do something about, your life and so on and so forth? And you say, yeah, you're correct. Let's see. Intentional communities, ecosystemic valleys, building a house from stone. Um, that's not what they meant. And then they pay attention to what roads you are beginning to walk in your own path. And they say, okay, we must do something to limit that person. They're not going to do human trafficking with us or grill babies with Epstein. Um, now that they take back all of their advice and they don't want you to treat yourself anymore. They don't want you to grow anymore. And this is the type of situation that we have here. I had a situation where uh, there was a person, yes, that they had the difficulty to say what's on their mind. And they had a friend that said to them, why don't you speak? Why don't you express yourself? One time they erupted like a volcano. And it was in the kitchen of all places. And I was present there. And then that person says, what happened? I said, come on. You tell him all the time to express himself. That's what I Now, I have to admit, Saturn is also karma. There are many people are saying to me for several years, why don't you write a book? I say, well, we have to change the entire industry. It needs to be profitable. I need to have the freedom to speak. No, because when my mother wrote a book, a fictional book, she wrote about the bombing, then happens a bombing. The entire intelligence. And then she wrote about the funding from the Qatar and the Palestinians going to study in British universities. And it's actually true. But it's they try. One day we had a Wasserman, it was a Newfoundland dog. One day he poops or vomits, and there is glass in the vomit. Naturally, we did not feed him glass. So this moon square Saturn is something along these lines. Somebody's been encouraging somebody, but can be either that the motives were genuinely not pure, or the motives were pure, but when that person begins to tend to that thing, it sparks up an entire. Now Saturn is ruling over Pluto. Now this is particularly karmic check for the people that have the setting someone up energy. Anybody that was scheming, that was trying to set someone up, there's a crisis. First of all, they're being discovered. And secondly, they can have this instant karma situation. And the reaction is going to be explosive because Mercury is ruling over Uranus Sedna and the Moon in Scorpio. If anybody been trying to set someone up, the reaction of the person that they try to set up is going to be so unpredicted that even that person did not predict it. Now this is particularly for people that are used to people keeping the peace or being elegant or and laser focused. I said what I said. And this is, it can be even a new type of reaction. Look at this 22. Now here's the thing. If the person is on the wrong and they try to do the blame shifting and this and that and act like they're the one that had enough, I don't recommend. Especially because this is a topic that has been okay, particularly around real estate. Because this is a topic that people that think that they have the right to enslave. Look what I found, kyanite. Okay. Kyanite, both essential oils and kyanite, is a crystal that aligns the frequencies. Look at this descendant Lilith. It aligns the frequencies, and here is the thing. Falcon, it's about to go down. What they cause, okay, essential oils in general, and crystals, not crystals like the drugs, crystals like the stones. they cause Kundalini rise. Now, this for people, there are healing crystals. What is healing? Is releasing stagnant energy. Okay. Now, for people, what it's going to create is revealing all of the things that have been keeping them stagnant. And what it's going to mean is that the people that have any type of psychosexual issues to do with thinking that somebody owes them sex, that they need to enslave, that it's all these type of things, that's going to come out to the surface. Because what do these things do? They release stagnation, release stagnant energy, so a person is standing in their power, not afraid of the sexuality, but also not sexually violating others or also themselves. Kyanite, for example, is communication stone. Now, why is communication challenged? Because there was a wound that violated lower chakras, sex chakras, that create impediment on expression chakras. Now, when I studied aromatherapy, a lot of people thought that I give massages. Now, even people that give aromatherapy massage, it's not erotic massage. Now, yes, any type of work on the meridians is releasing life energy and can cause eroticism in people. But people that think about those things in terms of trying to expect that somebody will give them erotic massage uh, for money, and that that's what they do for living, or that that's what they will do for living, how should I say that? You better not force these hands to touch you, because you're not going to like the touch. And this is the thing, essential oil is like Pluto energy. It exposes all the taboo topics. Crystals, okay, they work on the energy meridians, the chakras, to release all the energy. And now, if somebody has been carrying lower astral energies, deals with the devil or something of the sort, or even around the nervous system of people that did that, that's going to come up. It comes up to be transmuted. But if a person, it comes up in them, and because those things, the wealth consolidations to hoard people, is done on real estate, this is why it can come up with, let's say, situations. For example, I was learning aromatherapy, essential oils, crystals, and so on, and astrology and so on, and sharing an apartment with a person that was incredibly sensitive to energy and frequency. Also surrounded by Nazi cults. I don't care if they wear penguin suits. Nazi cults that want to enslave, subjugate women, enslave people, kill the disabled, uh, do death and concentration camps and call it profitable cities for real estate. then what happened? That person will have to run into the problem of a person given all the frequencies of Kundalini rise, which is basically healing, releasing from slavery. That's okay. That's the frequency. See, and they will have to deal with that in their own home. Now, if they do something to cast away, then the other person gone. Okay, I left, but they haven't left my energy. And also, they were a very private person, but when they violated my energy, the release of the stagnation is speech. And because it's not a personal topic, it's a real estate wealth consolidation topic of burying babies alive. There was ritual psychic attack to try to bury me alive. Of course, there were also energies that are trying to prevent that, okay? So, or to try to make me addicted to drugs or all these things that they do to the people that don't go along with their satanic cults. To steal life energy, all of these things that... And why? Because those wealth consolidations are about real estate. And at that time, when I was healing and growing and so on and so forth, I shared an apartment, real estate, with a person that was going the cult way. So they had to deal with me in their own home with all these crystals, okay, the kyanite and the peridot and the moldavite and in small apartment. You know, I had something interesting with Sphere and Sundry because this is talismanic company and so on. And I bought a talisman, a Tema Mundi, and I put it, it's summertime and I don't have money for air condition. I put it in the, not freezer, but the fridge. Now, I myself try my luck with talismans, try to do essential oils and so on. I put those things also in the fridge. And then it was like, yes, I wasn't going commercial with my products, but this was something where I was saying, okay, to separate the two, I would actually need another fridge. And here, if I go back to the real estate topic, okay, if I work with kyanite and the moldavite and this and that, and that person's sensitive to that energy, or I work with essential oils and so on, I would need to move to real estate that allows me to heal my nervous system. And those structural limitations, Saturn, created a bubbling, because why? Yes, first of all, with talismans, there is this MK often and needed to tend to MK often to MK ultra to basically have the benefic occultist setting fierce boundary to any type of lower astral Nazi enslaving quality. Okay? To nefarious occultism, the slave that comes to make people homeless and so on and so forth. And so it was very obvious that I was like, okay, to grow as a business, I would, yes, I bought this talisman of this company. If I put it next to my things, it would affect the frequency. I need another fridge. And in the previous apartment, it was like, okay, this is a shared apartment. Was very comfortable so far, but then I need maybe another room, or but those things of real estate, they cannot be with burying babies alive or burying the desire of a person to live alive. They were trying to get to the situation where women would be trafficked, whether in marriage or outside of marriage, and also boys. And this is a situation where, for the exact, and this what happened. Let's say the person that I was sharing an apartment with, they were going more with those cults. Then what would happen when they would try to instill this programming onto me? And I said, I'm not a trad wife. You know me. I'll be that person. Like, you need a person to spend the night awake in the lab because maybe there will be an earthquake. I'm your man. You need a person to do to clean the house, to this, to that, to that. I'm like, get a cleaner. I don't know. Trying to insinuate that I'm going to need to tend to my teeth. Yes, of course. Here I'm tending to my teeth. Cannot tolerate the frequency of a safe, happy, thriving woman around you. Okay, make sure that you're not participating in the very policies and dark occult rituals that prevent that woman from even walking away. So you will have your peace. And then that woman walks away anyway. And has to deal with psychic attacks and set energy boundaries to something that went alongside of selling their soul almost, or not almost. I don't believe that souls are for sale, but and all of that, why? Because they were going the frequency of enslavement, and I was going the frequency of life. Now this, when I moved to the other apartment, was even more evident, because I was going to more seeing rewilding with digging half moons, rewilding, okay? Now, I don't know if there were dead bodies buried underneath the soil and their nervous system was shaking. That's not what they planned for me to do in that apartment. Now, why would they plan for me to do something in the apartment? I rent an apartment. What's... Then they took out, I remember when they took out the rosemary bush, and I'm like, there are hardly any things more stupid than to take out the rosemary bush. Why? Because that protects the property. I protected from the property from all types of trafficking, from all types of traffickers, from all types of schemes like that, from all types of those energies. And they try to put this artificial grass. Now, I fight anything that is moldy. And I buy with products for to scrape the ceiling, and product that is anti-mold, so I fix it both in my body and in any place where I live. I don't ask for money, I don't ask for this, I do it myself. Because I think I would want to have home, I need to learn how to fix that. I said I'm half Dutch, okay? And then they put this artificial grass, what it creates underneath? Mold. Because they were trying to enslave a person that pays them the rent, like they own the money. But they were trying to leverage something that they don't have the right to leverage. Talk about private equity, BlackRock, 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 down. I said what I said, they're already in troubles. A woman CEO that was murdered, and then they are already under litigations and this and that. Because what they're trying to do with the private equity is they're not just trying to leverage the house, they're trying to traffic the people. And target individuals from the very 401k of people that pay, that go to classified projects, like MK often. And then they try to do dark rituals. But look how I grabbed the kyanite. It's a communication-related stone that is considered New Age. Frequency color blue, which is associated with Saturn, also with truth. And is aligning wherever the energy of frequency is porous. This is why they didn't want me to have those healing crystals. Look at this lot of fortune on the 1800 chart of Netherlands. Now you see what happened? And that person had to tolerate person having Kundalini rise next to them in the real estate. Because they saw in Praxis what the policies that they go and do these rituals, or I don't know. They saw in practice what it does. In practice, if I had an apartment to live separately, and then not have all this trafficking dumb fuckery, I'll tell you even more. 2 years ago, 3 years, the neighbors tells me, come, sit with us, ta-ta. I said, no, I will arrive, but tell me when that person's not there. I don't want to stress that person. I went away. They probably wanted me, yes, to leave. They were afraid that I'm channeling and so on, whatever. Okay, fine. Then one day, I see this lady, I say, okay, I have to be polite and go there. And that person is there.